You remember when Sam Darnold was that kid that was missing games because of mononucleosis? He was seeing ghosts on the field in primetime television, all of that back with the Jets. Not the same guy anymore. Not the same guy at all. Matt Burke spoke to the media yesterday, and I'm going to use a few of his responses as an opportunity to talk about both Sam Darnold and then the Seahawks offense in general. This is going to be a battle. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really, really excited about some of the matchups in this game of the Texans defense versus Sam Darnold. So here's Matt Burke talking about how Sam Darnold is playing right now.
Yeah, he's playing at a really high level. I was actually in Miami when he was a rookie in New York, so I've kind of been a little bit on a journey with him through time. Man, just like operating at like an elite level from a just ball out decision making. Like throws there, he's taking it. The shots that they're taking, he's obviously pushing the ball down the field to JSN and those other guys. I just think and a lot of times these guys, I feel like there's a lot in the league now, quarterbacks that have kind of grown through their career and come into being really good players, and for whatever reason, and early in their career, whether ups and downs. I mean, that's probably natural for rookies in general, but he's operating at a really high level, extremely elite level. It's going to be a big challenge for us to go against him. He's decision making and getting the ball out of his hands is at a very, very high level right now.
It is. It really is, and I can feel it. I can feel it. People don't want to accept it, but he's averaging 9.5 yards per attempt, and yet at the same time has the lowest turnover-worthy throw rate in the league. Like, he's operating at a real high level, both mentally and physically. I kind of organized those clips from the Jacksonville game last week to go from some of the touch throws that he made more on into things that you could say, okay, the system's getting the receiver open. The important thing to know is that it's not just the system, but the system is certainly working really well. But it's his ability to dial up the right plays. This one play, and I saw this a bunch last week, but this big hit to the tight end there, Bob Barton, right? At the end of the game, I just want you to watch, because this was multiple times Darnold was doing this. Watch, he sends a receiver in motion, and then look at the safeties up there to your left of your screen. They switch their look like a cover three. Darnold changes the play. Receivers communicating that they got the play. That's nice to see. That's good communication. And then watch the safety there in the middle, right on the hash mark. Bites on the run action. Tight end runs past him, and then boom, there you go. Looks like an easy enough throw, right? But it was Darnold getting them into the right play, and there's so many examples in that Jacksonville game of him doing that. So the eye discipline that we talk about, safeties and linebackers just recognizing run pass real quickly. The Texans have done better versus play action this year than I feared they would after the first game where they got torn up versus play action. They've been a lot better since then. This is the test this week. This is really the rubber meets the road, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They got to be really, really super disciplined versus Sam Darnold. Here is, regarding the play action, Matt Burke on facing the play action.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously a big challenge for us this week.
Oh, wait. You know what? No, before I get into that, when it comes to Sam Darnold changing the play at the line of scrimmage, going back to Minnesota. So Sam Darnold, remember last year? Okay, well, is it Jefferson and O'Connell, and that's all it is, and Sam Darnold's not that good? Obviously, those guys help. I think here what you're seeing is, all of those mental higher functioning things that we're talking about, but then B, also, Minnesota is really good at figuring out what the defensive calls are when they send guys in motion. What's the communication between the defensive backs, and does that give the quarterback a tell? So the Texans have had 2 weeks to prepare for that, on making dummy calls, on doing things without hand motions, just flat out knowing the game plan and knowing when guys are going to have to swap responsibilities. That's one of the big key factors in this game that neither side will talk about, because it's all the skullduggery of it all. Here's the play action bit that I promised.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously a big challenge for us this week, especially for a team that marries the run game up with the play action very well. Obviously a history of this scheme, being really good at that, from a long time. And obviously coordinator, O-line coach, like run game, senior assistant, all like have a history in the system. So they're doing a really good job just running the system and making the runs marry up with all the play action stuff. So something that obviously we practice and preach a lot. And so a huge challenge for us this week to make sure that our eyes in the right place. And when we're seeing run, we're playing run. And when it's time to get underneath some play action shots, we're doing that as well.
Yeah. So if we go to the play action, just the outside zone, I'm going to talk maybe a little bit about outside zone and play action at the same time. This is a really nice shot of play action working out. And if you watch the right edge rusher there, just bites on the run, gets a little bit out late to contain. Then look at the bottom of your screen, the free safety. This is when shit runs downhill. So he can see the free safety, number 31, can see that the edge rusher has lost contain. So he's thinking, okay, do I have to go up and clean up that mistake if Sam Darnold decides to run? Meanwhile, receiver's running right past him. The cornerback's actually doing a good job of staying attached to this guy. But look at the throw that Darnold makes. Throwing across his body. And it's a guy that hasn't put the ball in harm's way a whole lot. I mean, that was a hell of a throw and a catch. Well, play action was working, but it was also Sam Darnold, doing something on top of it. Another play action gem that I put in here from last week. And don't anybody, I see the comments already. I'm not trying to act like this is the unbeatable foe or anything. I just want everybody to know what the Texans are up against so they can celebrate extra hard after a victory. So watch the linebackers here on this play action. Like, they are sucked up towards the line of scrimmage, and then boom, not having their depth in the pass and pass coverage just makes for what looks like an easy throw by Sam Darnold, but it's the entire scheme operating together. And then the other part of this play, I would say, is can we tackle? Can we get less than 1-2 missed tackles? Do we get a third missed tackle? No, he finally gets him down. The Texans, I think they've improved in that regard in the last few weeks. It's been a point of emphasis. D'Amico talked about it this week, so I'm confident that that's not going to be the issue that it was early in the season. This is where it gets really interesting. Matt Burke on deciding whether or not you have Derek Stingley travel with Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Sting's a good cover corner, one of the best in the league, but we feel really good about Kamara's skill set there too. So, sometimes it's matchups and sometimes it's specific types of receivers and what that skill set is or what we think is just the best definition. But again, sometimes that's detrimental to running a guy across the field or waiting to find out who's coming out of the huddle and where you're tracking them and playing on other sides and things like that. And then there's tempo. This team will get on the ball and run some tempo on you. So there's just a lot of decisions as you go week to week of again, every week we're just trying to make the best decision of how do we deploy our guys properly and give us the best chance to win the ball game.
As he was describing that, so that having Stingley travel with Jackson Smith-Njigba, it's always enticing, and you love the idea of that, and defense is great when you can do it. The part you do have to be careful about is, all right, does it make it harder for everybody else? Because then everybody else is playing slightly out of position, or they have to make mental adjustments. But then especially if a team's going up tempo, or just even if if it's 2-minute drill, whatever it is, the offense is coming out of the huddle and the defense is trying to sort out who's going where and everything. There's times where you just got to figure out, all right, for this series, we're not doing it. In these situations, we will or won't do it. You add on to that I think Kamari Lassiter is coming along very well this year, and maybe you just trust those guys to say, all right, wherever he is, we got to lock him down. The tricky part is that, Njigba's been taking the vast majority of his snaps outside, but obviously he can still play in the slot, and you have the Cooper Kupp dynamic as well. I'm leaning more and more against having Stingley travel with Jackson Smith-Njigba all that much, just because Sam Darnold's operating this offense at a pretty damn high level. There was one play in the Jacksonville game last week where the Jags were rushing to get aligned, and in a situation like that, it's kind of what I think Burke was alluding to. There's no disguising. When you can tell the defense is just scrambling to get everybody in place, then that gives the quarterback a clear picture of what's going to happen. He ended up dialing up, adjusted in Njigba's route, Smith-Njigba's route, and Njigba was wide open because they could exploit the zone coverage. I think it is going to be, whether or not Derek Stingley travels, it's going to be a man coverage kind of day. And one big part of it is this. I don't know if I put this play in here or not. I don't think I did. Let's see. The Seahawks see a whole lot of loaded boxes, partly just because of the formations that they run. But they also, let's see. Oh, I don't think I have it. Son of a bitch. So they see a lot of loaded boxes. And Kenneth Walker has seen the fourth most loaded boxes, 8 guys in the box of anybody in the league. And it's not like they're running the ball extremely effectively, except that it is effective in setting up the play action. The other thing that it does is defenses are playing their base personnel way more against the Seahawks than they do versus most teams. So they've got, in the case of the Texans, that would be a 4-3 defense with four defensive linemen, 3 linebackers on the field. Texans don't do that a whole lot. Texans play they play in nickel a lot, more than just about anybody else in the league. So they have to make that decision. Do we have Jalen Petrie up here versus these heavy offensive formations? And are they going to try to pick on Petrie, which teams can do? If they make it smash mouth football, Petrie's not the size of a linebacker. So it's tempting to put your 3 linebackers in. But that's when you start to see the Seahawks really take advantage of linebackers and coverage and hit some of that play action and some of the intermediate level stuff. That's the real test. So I think the antidote for that is for D'Amico to be really aggressive and play a lot of man coverage, but then blitz more than he typically does. And that's when it becomes that is a critical mission for your defensive backs there, because you've seen what Smith and Jigba can do if you don't stay attached to them. So if they're going to be aggressive, which I think they will, and that's one of the things I'm getting excited about. Like, this is going to be Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter just having to lock down those guys while the guys up front get home. Should be a good one. Let's see. I think the offensive line is going to get smoked by the defensive line. Did that pop up? Yeah. This is where some of that, and I talked about this yesterday when I reacted to Kaylee's press conference. A lot of that's going to be on CJ and the receivers and getting the ball out quickly, which they've done a really good job of getting better at that. And then the tricky part of that is that Mike McDonald does a great job of disguising coverages. So when it comes to getting the ball out quickly, CJ's got to diagnose super fast exactly what coverage he's seeing. The play calling hopefully can help him out. But that's going to be some fun. Let's see. Seattle likes to go max protect and play actions, which if our guys cover, that pass rush gets home. Yeah. And that whole balancing act. I see there's a lot of discussion going on about whether or not the Seahawks have faced defenses as tough as the Texans, et cetera, et cetera. I'm here to say nice to meet you, Smoke Burp. There it was. Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Arizona, New Orleans. The teams mentioned none of the teams mentioned have elite secondaries, nor the pass rush duo the Texans have to complement it. Oh, good question by Landry yesterday. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, boy, what happened to the Steelers the other night? I still have to watch that entire game. Let's see. What's his name asked a really good question. Landry. I didn't mean to call him Landry. I'm going to find Landry's question because it was a good one, and it's relevant to what the Seahawks do on defense. So the Texans don't run a whole lot of games. That's when you have the defensive line twist without a blitz, without anybody else like a linebacker or a defensive back blitzing. Here, I think I left the whole question in.
Y'all both have good defenses, but y'all kind of attack differently on the D-line. They use a lot of stunts. Y'all are near the bottom in stunts. What goes into the decision of whether or not to use stunts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I haven't really watched their defense, if I'm being honest, so I can't speak to how they play. But, just for us, again, it's just, I think I've talked about this before, as we look at, approaching protections. At the end of the day, we have good players at the starting point. So, we want those guys to be able to go perform and shine. And so, week to week, you're looking at protections and at, again, specific players in the O-line and how you can attack those, whether that, calls for movements or pressures or patterns or whatever that is. So I think that's just a week-to-week thing in terms of, do we like our matchups? Do we just want our guys to be able to go work? What looks good against this protection? Can we predict these protections and how, what's effective against them? So, at the end of the day, we like our front and we like our players and we want them to just go be good players for us. So sometimes that just means let them go win some run-on-ones.
Yeah, and I think that's the sum total of it, what he said right there. Why wouldn't the Texans run more games the way that the Seahawks run games, and they do really, really well with it? The Texans have guys on the edge, especially obviously in Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, that they can win their one-on-ones, and it's a lot faster to win a one-on-one than it is to run a game. So, and it's that fits in with what the Seahawks are, where with DeMarcus Lawrence back, they add another, more of a pure pass rusher. But they have a lot of guys that are just big, strong, hybrid types of dudes that don't necessarily win really fast, but they push the pocket. But they're not going to come free as quickly as, say, a Josh Hines-Allen or a Danielle Hunter or a Will Anderson. And so the games are effective for those guys. With the Texans, it's more, hey, we trust these guys to win on the edge. We're just going to let them get after it. And that allows the defensive tackles to push the pocket, but also to be in position in case they have to handle with a scrambling quarterback, or if it's run. And that's the other thing that happens with games sometimes too, is if you run games and because you're anticipating pass, but the offense ends up running, you can create some seams there. So I think they just like the consistency and the potential speed of not running games. Seahawks are constructed a little bit more differently. We know the Texans' offensive line at times struggles in protecting against games. We saw that just a few games ago against the Jaguars especially. The left side of the Texans' offensive line is going to be tested. The Seahawks did a really good job versus Jacksonville of testing the left side of the Jaguars' offensive line. That's where the Texans' weak spot is right now. What is Ariante Ursary? What is Juice Scruggs? They're going to figure out ways to try to exploit those guys. So it'll be a lot of fun. One little image here, if I had added it, let's see. Yeah, so this is an outside zone run play, and I just wanted to show this to kind of show the responsibilities of the guys that need to take care of this. The Texans, remember after the Bucs game, they really had to hem up their run defense, and they have since then. But just watch this. The defensive end here gets upfield, and you think, well, it doesn't look like he's getting beat. Nah, he is, because he's got to squeeze that hole right there, and he doesn't do a good job of it. And then meanwhile, if you look at the defensive tackle, he actually does a pretty good job. Like, that's the gap that he's in there is the B gap. You count out from the center, between the center and the guard, it's the A gap. Then the 3 technique is in the B gap there. He's got to want to try to keep that B gap versus outside zone. It's hard sometimes, but at the very least, you want to press into the hole and just keep working into the B gap. And he does a good job of getting that push. And if the defensive end had just stayed there, then it would have been a lot more constricted. And that's one thing, that Bucs game, the defensive tackles got a lot of crap from everybody, and understandably so. They didn't play well, but the defensive ends and the linebackers didn't play well in the Bucs game either. Talking about the Texans versus the Bucs, obviously, going back to that game. But they've done a lot better since. So, like, here you'd want the defensive end, if that's Will Anderson or Danielle Hunter, instead of just running upfield, you want to get your hands, recognize run, get your hands into him, and then press there. And the Seahawks don't have a whole bunch of explosive plays like that with their outside zone, but they run it enough that it sets up the boot and that makes life miserable at times. Let's see. Seth gave us a stat. Against the Ravens, the Texans went 70% quick pass. Can you get, I don't know about the 4 wide receivers. You get Noel and Kirk into the slots for quick yards. Yeah, 4 wide is not nearly as popular in the NFL as everybody always wants it to be. Presents a lot of challenges. But I like just spreading it out more. And the Texans run a whole lot of 3 wide. Oh, you said 4 wide, but with Schultz. So I don't. Okay, so you're all right. It's not 4 wide receivers. You're saying just having. I don't know what we're talking about here. I apologize. I don't understand the question, Mellow Mike. It's my fault, not yours. And I got to go to lunch, man.